Hello, everyone. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops. Welcome to Market Moves. With me is Jay, aka Dark Matter, and Andrew, our resident earnings expert on our Discord. How you guys doing?
Yeah, Wiz, I can't complain, It's action-packed week already, and we
Yeah,
haven't even started the regular trading session, but I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Andrew, how you doing, man?
great. It was an exciting night yesterday.
Yeah, well, one of the problems we have with like big moves like this on a Monday is we spend the week, Friday and the weekend kind of doing some analysis, and then next thing you know, you know, you're like, okay,
It's going.
well, hopefully the analysis still works out, and
That's what I'm
but
hoping for.
yeah. But I mean, right now, I mean, just to give, well, I guess we'll talk first about Jay's trade plan. But overall, though, as of right now, we are activating the over VIX signal. So, I mean, if the market stays like this uh, all the way through the end of the day, that is VIX and SPX kind of being at the levels they're at now, we should have a another over VIX signal. So that's kind of exciting, right?
Mm.
I always love an over VIX or an under VIX. It's one of the greatest trades.
They're very consistent too, and the fact that we've had so many in such a short time is that's great.
And there's I mean, basically since post-August, right? It was just
Mhm.
like what, like four or five off the top of my head, if I remember here.
Yeah, this is
Uh,
already four. This that's since August.
yeah,
We had August,
yeah,
September, December, and I guess three,
yeah. Well,
and they all
it's
worked. They all
incredible.
worked. So,
Yeah.
um, and on low probability moves. But so first we'll go with Jay, and then we'll talk to Andrew a little bit about earnings. So,
Yeah, let me make this quick because there's a lot of earnings and we'll kind of touch base on that here. But as always, let's quickly do a bounce back to last week here, and it's not 120. Excuse my, I was like fiercely trying to type last night, and so this is not 120. This is the 20th, last week's weekly trade plan. But at a high level, I mean, Wiz, we 59.50 was that area. We called that in the trade plan. Unfortunately, I didn't get access to that because, again, talk about moves. They're all occurring in overnight trading. We hit that during a Trump speech Monday night, actually, when he's talking about Canada and Mexico tariffs. We hit 59.50, and there's like an immediate buy reaction out of that. And I mean, we call 6,100. We did peak above 6,100. It was a little bit frustrating there for some of us who thought we'd get a little bit of this selling at or near 6,100, but we peaked to a high of 6,130 on the week. But amazing call by you as well, Wiz, to see the sell back towards 60.80. We got a lot more than that today. We'll jump into that here in just a minute. But, again, really good kind of range and, analysis from us calling both the lows and the highs of the week here. So good stuff
and the
there.
pin.
That's right. That's
I
right.
mean, we called 6,100, last week pretty strongly. But
Yeah,
today's a different story. But
it is a very interesting story. So let's keep going. If we're gonna
yeah,
have enough time to talk about it all. I mean, this week, earnings is going to be a big factor, but there is a bunch of news catalysts, let's say. I mean, today is pretty minor. We just have new home sales with an announcement today. But tomorrow, you got to kick off a heavy week of data. Durable goods orders, the home price index, consumer confidence, the Richmond Manufacturing Index. Wednesday's massive FOMC, and then Thursday you have the same thing in Europe. Then we've got GDP on Thursday, unemployment claims, then pending home sales, and then the big one on Friday, PCE, and then the employment cost index and the Chicago PMI. So pretty action-packed week here. I know I'll give you guys some moment here to just talk a little bit about the week, but that comes on top of this. Some massive earnings here this week. Some notable names to call out: Boeing, Starbucks, ASML, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, IBM, UPS, MasterCard, Apple, Intel, and Visa. So, and ExxonMobil for
Yeah.
those are into energy. So, massive week, you could say.
Yeah.
So, Andrew's going to be doing analysis on some of these. So, let
Mhm.
me just kind of keep going in here, so that way we can give him some time.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit though, real quick about the catalysts first.
Yeah.
FOMC. Now, it's when I looked at the markets on Friday and was prepping kind of for this week, FOMC had a little bit of event vol, and now it's kind of like in the noise. So it's a little bit of a different. All of these catalysts, including to a lesser extent these earnings, all these catalysts have kind of muted their event vol thanks to last night. So I mean, I haven't done my Substack yet because I need to see how how the chips fall first, and then talk about it. But I think that and I do think though that because of that, the catalyst can have a big effect, especially like in the fundamental trading community. I think they can have a large effect. One thing that I did notice is that bonds did not like spike in one way or the other. I mean, they're up, and 10-year yields are back down to 4.5, but and gold has barely moved. The dollar, is lower compared to the yen and the Swiss franc. So it's this is almost like a normal liquidity sell off, at least from an equity standpoint. So I think that it's something that you definitely now you have to keep an eye on it, because the FOMC can bounce us or anything, and because there's no event fall for it now that it's kind of in the noise.
I think we might have lost Jason there for just a minute. So, Andrew, let's keep going here until we see
I'm
back
back
from
on.
him.
Okay.
Oh, okay, there we go. All right, beautiful.
Oh, it was like a little hiccup. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, blame the
And I was
internet.
just saying,
Damn the internet.
I'll paraphrase. Earnings will still have an impact, obviously, but right now you have to monitor day by day, almost hour by hour, how the implied volatility is shaking out for these catalysts. So,
Yep. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Got a lot more to go through here and lots of stuff. So, I mean, we've blown through already what the options expected move was on the week. It was about 83 points to the upside. That was, or I should say, to the downside, 60.18, and to the upside, 61.84. ES and SPX, they have about a 32-point difference today. Some key levels out there. We hit 59.89, which was roughly about 59.50 in overnight action. We did not bounce from that, right? So we'll get into some like key Vanna levels here, but like we need to Wiz's point, we need to have the day balance here for just a minute when we open. Like the weekly outlook, you're not going to get anything out of it. We crushed it. Like the weekly list was, call it a 60-20 here, right?
Mhm.
So you're not going to get anything out of that. So let's look at the all expiration, and the key support level is still 5,900. I mean, you start losing this, it's going to get really bad. Sell, 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 sell. You can clearly see here. There's some minor support here, but not a lot of great support. So that's the level to watch. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could interject, if you can zoom in on that divot below 5,900, honestly, like there is when I would expect to start seeing some not 5,900, down in the like lowest divot.
This right here.
Yeah. That's where I would start expect a little bit of support. That's where there's a lot of put buying for the annual stuff, and also monthly expiration. So I mean, I kind of expect to see a little bit past 5,900, but again, if you over VIX, you could shoot down. So I definitely wouldn't start buying the dip down there, or catch a falling knife kind of thing. But yeah,
you better manage your risk.
Entries.
You better manage your risk if the news is not going your way and you enter there.
Right. It looks like we bounced though on 59.10, right?
Yeah, so overnight action, we bounced basically right here. Right here, just before your largest divot. So uh I mean, to me, like this is where when you see something this large, typically in the van exposure, like I'm not waiting for that extra 5 to 10 points. Like just be happy, take it, move on. Just FYI, everyone. These do typically hold. Again, we're not predictors of the market, so let's not predict that. We just know that this is a key level here. And our expectation is that it should hold, right? And the market has given us that open an overnight at 59.10. So that is at least your support level. You can clearly kind of see here where it gets really hairy and dicey if we lose that 5,900. Now, I mean, back to the upside, like you got to now take over. Again, we'll see this once this updates it in at the market open. But basically, just think of all the key levels to the downside as we're selling overnight. 60.50, 60.25, 6,000, some of these key levels last week that we had to get through, they're back to resistance, right? So you're essentially, you wiped out the entire trading session last week from a liquidity standpoint. So you're back to that same story. Again, to the upside, your JPM caller here, 61.65 is the one that sticks out. Any comments, gentlemen?
No, the 61.65 is the JPM strike.
It is.
Really comment.
All right, let's keep going. I think that's my, I think ultimately you got to be patient this week, especially the open. If you've not entered into a trade, especially overnight, I think this is just FYI, guys. That's why I'm trading ES, right? I like the flexibility. I like to be able to trade overnight. Might take some sleep away from me, but I don't have to wait and potentially now chop for the rest of the day, right? I got my 20 points overnight, so just a call out. That's part of your trading strategy, in my opinion. You should adjust with the times. A lot of this action is either occurring the last half hour, the first half hour of the market open and close, or an overnight action. So I just wanted to call that out to everyone here. But my big expectation here, I mean, we broke 59.50. 5,900 is the big one. Obviously, I need to reassess at this point. I want to wait for the market to open. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of movement going on here. I'm going to take this week a lot lighter and easier, waiting for 5,900 if I'm trying to long. That's going to be my first long, is going to be there. Patiently, though. Risk management. Thoughts?
No, I agree. Yeah, we can't really say anything. We can't really see anything until we get an update. So
Agreed.
But
all right, let's get into
transition
the
Andrew.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's get into Andrew's stuff.
Well, Andrew's sharing. You like my mug?
Oh, nice! You got one of those. You telling me about that? I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, look at what Jill put on the bottom. It's too full, but it's a no Jex sticker.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, I love it.
No check sticker. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so it should be on ORATS, right? So
Yep.
So my first analysis is probably Tesla. So what I found for Tesla is the implied volatility is 61.5. Actually, I'm on the wrong one. It's actually the earnings one. So okay, 61.5. And do you see that based on previous earnings, it tends to break out more than it actually stays in range. I also noticed that the revisions are actually mixed, and the EPS is a little bit bullish than before. So it sounds like the analysts are not sure what the movement of Tesla would be. And I also noticed that the implied move for this earnings is actually close to the average. So most people expect it to be at the max, or I think it tends to break out more.
Yeah, that's an 8-quarter streak of breaking out of the expected move.
Yeah.
You would think at some point in time dealers would start expanding that expected move just a little bit, right?
Yep.
I call that they like the constant beat down. All right.
For me, I just think you just don't mess with Tesla because
Yeah.
you don't expect that this is a wild card, and especially it is also one of the few with a huge option volume. So you have to check
Yeah.
Volland often to see it. So let's go see what Volland shows it then.
Yeah, with Tesla, there's always like a lot of round tripping. They don't have zero DTE, but participants on the one on like the closest Friday, the closest expiration, do a lot of round tripping intraday. I always kind of suspected that that's kind of manipulating. They're trying to manipulate Tesla price, but you know, it's we'll see. But yeah, all right, go ahead. What do we see?
So for Volland or expirations, it seems very bullish.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the positive Vanna on 500 and 550. So I guess dealers are positioned for it to be like a bullish move all the way up there, which is way past the expected move based on ORATS.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my feeling is probably you can do like a call debit spread up to that point, since based on history, it can tend to break out. Like 550 is the max, 500, 550. Or I could also, if you're worried about the downside, which there's no hedging. So if it goes down, it goes down like there's no limit. You can also do a long strangle or something, like a straddle or something like that.
Yeah, I like the call debit spread. That's a winning strategy, I think, on this one because you know, as long as you're controlling your risk, you know, the call debit spreads don't cost very much.
Yep.
So if it does go down and it goes down a lot, you're not spending a lot. And you know, okay, yeah, you lose, but I have a feeling that Tesla will not stand still.
Well, and some of the key things behind exactly what you just said there is sometimes it's okay to be wrong. You're not going
Yeah.
to predict all of these, right? Like, unless you're sitting in those earnings reports and know which way they're going, right?
Yeah.
Which then is a completely illegal, then, you know, like you got to protect some of that risk or you just don't trade this thing, right? So I love your guys' idea on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the call debit spread seems like a great. What's the current price on it?
I'm not sure. I don't think ORATS updates it now. So it's like
ORATS.
406.
Well, yeah, the ORATS has the same issue. They're getting them. They're getting their data. You know, exchanges don't give that data. But anyway, I thought Tesla was. I didn't know if it was up or down pre-market, but it seems like it's a good opportunity to buy a dip. Tesla is currently trading at 393. So.
Oh, okay.
So that's an opportunity right there. Yeah. So when you go back to Volland, Andrew, just like expand the thing that you say. Yeah.
This one? Okay.
Yeah. That way we could all see it. See, there's a lot of Vanna on the upside here. A lot of sold calls. What Tesla's what? Wednesday?
Yep. Wednesday at night. After market.
That sounds like an opportunity right there. But again, very small risk. Don't mortgage your house. But cool. All right. What else do we have? We have Microsoft or
let's do Meta. Let me do
all
Meta.
right, let's do Meta.
So for Meta, the implied volatility is 42%. The EPS is also positive, but the revisions are also mixed. Based on the history, it does break out, but the past 12 earnings is like more like 6, 7 out of 12 times or something like that. So it's not like crazy like Tesla is. The implied move is actually 6.4, while the average 8.6. So people are actually expecting it to stay inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the analysis or experts generally think it's going to probably not move around that much. And the IV shows that it's like still on the average for a big company like this.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see what the Volland shows it to be.
And Meta's interesting. It's currently trading at 631 from 647.50. So there's a little bit again of a dip. So we should see what kind of Vanna strikes we're looking at.
Yeah, and what's also interesting about it is that because now the news with the DeepSeek thing, does it affect Meta? Because I know it affects Nvidia a lot with the chips, but I wonder if it would affect Meta in its earnings.
Well, Meta
Well, there's a few tickers there, right? Like Meta is going to be like right now, everyone's like okay, if it doesn't cost us much for all this AI stuff, Meta, why are you spending billions and billions upon billions, right? So I think
Right.
that's why you're seeing Meta get hammered from that standpoint. The other one interesting, I know, we'll wait there, but Microsoft, like that's feeling the impact of this whole deep seek thing, right? Like, hey, your
Yeah.
chat GPT investment doesn't look so hot anymore.
Yes, because especially I think that there was a chart that showed that Microsoft spend the most out of all the tech companies on buying chips. So yeah, we'll see on the next. That's the next stock I'm going to do an analysis for.
Yeah.
So for Meta, it is slightly bullish, but not as much as let me expand it as Tesla is. So it's like it's a staircase up to 660, to 700, to 750. So for me, I would actually do also the same thing, like call debit spread, but I won't be as bullish since it doesn't break out as much. Probably like to like 700 or somewhere around there. There is some hedging on the bearish side. So the bearish, you can probably go to like 630 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'd probably pick.
Yeah, Meta has an expected move of 47 points. So 700 right now is 70 points. So that's a call debit spread or something like that. But the other thing too is with that huge strike there at what is that 800 or something?
750.
750. With that huge strike there, I mean that's not going to go down all that much if we shoot up. So probably a call debit spread or maybe even like a very wide butterfly, but I like the call debit spread here too. This is it looks like this market sell-off's giving us an opportunity, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm gonna let you guys keep going here, but that was like my theme that I was putting together between last night and this night is that I think this whole deep seek sell-off is going to be a good buying opportunity, to be quite honest. And based on what you're showing in the two tickers here from an earnings standpoint, at least I like to look at earnings across the companies, in the stock market. And this aligns with like a pretty strong Q4 earnings for a lot of companies out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's a buy opportunity for Meta too, because it's like it looks like everyone thinks it's going to be mixed or neutral, and the volume shows it to be bullish. And with the news, I think it's a buy to dip opportunity too.
Yeah, 700. I like that 700 strike right there. That one appeals to me.
Yes. Yes. I like trading those tickers, so I'm just going to shut up and let you guys keep going.
All right, the next one I'm going to do is Microsoft. So Microsoft, surprisingly, the IV is 23.1, which is I think is shockingly kind of low for a Mag7 stock. It's almost very similar to like an energy stock or some slow moving like stock that's like been out here for a while. So
Yeah, one thing I'll say real quick about Microsoft is Tesla, Nvidia, those two in particular, but to a lesser extent, Meta, they kind of have closer to meme stock activity where there's a lot of in and out. I guess it's not like GME meme stock, but they're kind of like a special meme stock, you could say, where there's a lot of in and out, a lot of option kind of manipulation. Like it seems like the price is manipulated by people who know what they're doing, going in and out of these shares or of these options. Microsoft doesn't do that. They don't play around. They don't. It's not like they don't care. Obviously, like they care what their share price is, but there's no like 3-card Monte kind of thing going on where they're trying to get dealers to bump up their stock price. There's no like shell game or anything. So, Microsoft tends to kind of be, and because of that, they are so much more reliable in Volland because the positioning is pretty stable. You can make good swing trade on Microsoft, and the spot vol correlation is very strong. It's almost stronger in Microsoft than it is in SPX. So so yeah, I mean Microsoft, and it's not exciting, but if you are a swing options trader, it's a great ticker to play with. So.
Yeah. So based on history, it doesn't break out as much, like you said, Jason. It's like it's a kind of a not a meme stock type of thing. Um, and also like there is no EPS for it to tell us for some reason, but the revisions are negative. So it looks like the expert think is bearish on Microsoft for some reason. Um, the implied move is 3.5, average is 4.9. So people are expecting not much movement on Microsoft itself.
Mhm.
So it's like leaning towards neutral to bearish from based on fundamentals. So let's go see what Volland shows it as.
Yeah, I'm looking at Microsoft. It's down now to 425 from 444. There is a strange. Well, I guess yeah. I guess we'll have to see what the market opens, because I'm looking at it. I was like, how come the straddle for February, what is it, February 14th is cheaper than the one for February 7th? That's an ARB opportunity, but I think it's just the way it's being measured because of the big market drop off. So
Yeah, it probably takes
Hmm.
some. The analysis had to recalculate once the market opens or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, based on the Volland structure for Microsoft, it looks like this is like they're stuck in between. Like there's a positive Vanna 405, which is that's probably the farthest it goes on the downside, and then there's negative Vanna on 460 and 450. It kind of puts it into like a kind of a fly, or you can say like a kind of stays in range in those between those two large strikes.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's can you do you have puts and calls? Is that negative Vanna from puts?
Oh, that's all.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just saying, can you down select?
Oh,
Yeah, down select down to puts. Because I think if those are puts that are negative Vanna right there, you might want to check it out. You could, if you're gonna take a gamble like and do a butterfly, you're gonna want to maybe lean to the upside a little bit. Yeah. So those are puts that are now in the money because of this big drop.
Yeah.
You might want to lean a little bit positive, maybe break the wing of the butterfly so that if the market does go up, that it you don't lose, or you win actually. But yeah, so I mean, again, it's something that you have to wait for the market to settle down a little bit. But I think that a butterfly is a good move. Maybe just kind of, like I said, just break the wing to the upside a little bit. But and when I say break the wing, I'm sorry. When I say break the wing, a butterfly is typically two verticals that are facing each other. Maybe say like a 20 wide vertical here that's bearish and a 20 wide vertical here that's bullish, and the short strike is the same spot. When I say break a wing, what I'm saying is this 20 wide bullish should stay, but then maybe make the bearish 10 points, or expand the bullish to 30 points or something like that. So it's a little bit uneven. And if you do that and you kind of lean in that direction, then you get, you become a little bit more positive deltas. And that would help you if we get a little positive gamma run here from Microsoft. So,
do you want to look at the call side too, or just?
well, I was just, excuse me, I was just seeing what the Vanna was. We probably won't see much in calls because of the drop. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so we should probably keep it at both.
If you
Yeah,
take a look at its van exposure, you can the trading strategy just called out here as well
yeah,
on it. Like you can kind of see that. Yeah, there you go.
yeah. Yeah, and it looks. I know. It looks like bullish from the colors of the dots. It's very difficult to color these dots in a way that, that fully expresses whether it's bullish or bearish sentiment. So, because it's an implied volatility based metric, so it's not really based on the underlying. So we try to help, in that way, but
Mhm.
you can't really take the color of the dots perfectly literally. So, are you doing Apple? Did you do Apple, Andrew?
I'm doing that next.
Okay, cool. Because Apple is up, and it's funny
Oh,
because we were layering into Apple like in our fund account. We were layering into Apple because we were like, there's going to be a lot of support here for Apple, and we check it out. And
All
here
right.
it is.
Only
There's a market
ticker, it's the
sell-off
only
of
ticker green, for crying out loud, Wiz. Yeah.
the market. The market sell-off is on -128, and we have Apple up. I mean, it's not like Apple's not doing any AI. That's kind of funny, right?
Well, I mean, I'll let you guys jump in here. At a high level, like Apple has a lot of support from corporate buybacks, right? Like
Yeah.
they buy bazillions of dollars worth of shares almost every quarter, right? So that is why it's one of the market's favorite stocks to trade, right? Or to put in the industry at such a high value. So yeah, I am. Again, there's been a theme so far as we looked at the ES plan, these these tickers here from earnings. I hope you all have picked up on it, but if not, Andrew, keep going into Apple here, and
Sure.
maybe we'll call out our trend here that I keep hearing.
So for Apple, the implied volatility is 28.1. So it's also kind of a slow moving volatility compared to like Microsoft too. So for this one,
Yeah, Apple like Microsoft, you don't see a lot of in and out traffic. You don't see much like option memeing, right? Just people trying to manipulate option dealers to do what they want. Apple and Microsoft have very strong spot vol correlations, and they just chug along. That's very solid institutional stocks. So
yep. So and also like the revisions are mixed. The EPS is bullish, so people are expecting it to be bullish this earnings by a lot, almost like 70
Wow.
cents. So it's kind of funny how it's like they're mixed, and also they think that earning per share is higher. Their implied move is 3.9, which is close to the average of 4. So it looks like it might be like neutral to bullish kind of feel for Apple.
Yeah,
And
I
then
agree.
we can look for Volland too. So
Yeah, I agree. And there was so much support for Apple. Like Apple recently kind of dropped, right? It hasn't been. Yeah, and this you see that 220 strike right there. That very strong positive Vanna. That's what we were playing, and it's it looks great now, right? I mean, it's sometimes I marvel at what we managed to do on Volland when you see this huge strike, this huge 20 220 strike. The market sells off 2.5%, and Apple doesn't move or goes up a little bit. It's just
yeah. So for me, like this analysis might be a little off now that we found out that Apple is up a little bit. But since this is such a big strike here at 220, I was thinking, and with the IV so small and neutral, that a fly would be pinned at that point would be good. Or if you're leading bullish, this strike here 245 is very good. You can do like a credit spread right there if you don't expect it to move that far up.
Yeah, I like the aggregate because the aggregate Vanna is very positive here. That's why we kind of are calling for a bounce. I do like that 245. If I were to make a move, not to disagree with you, Andrew, but if I were to make a move here, like a fly around that 245, a nice wide fly, that'd be pretty sweet, I think.
Or in the middle, if you think that it's going to bounce around.
Or in the middle too. Yeah, that's a good one too. I'm gonna write that one down because I like that. This is probably one of my favorite moves. Actually, all these though. I mean, you do call debit spreads. I mean, all these. Like we're kind of saying this is probably buy the dip, right? Like we're trending in that way. ES, Apple, Microsoft. It seems like we're primed to buy the dip. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
so
mean,
too. Oh,
yeah, go ahead, Andrew. No, go ahead.
well,
No, go ahead.
since it looks like based on all four, the analysis is mostly bullish. But the only concern I have is that like Tesla, Meta, and Microsoft are happening while the FOMC rate decision is happening. So they kind of might either cancel each other out on that Wednesday, or we don't know what's going to happen that Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah, you nailed it, Andrew. I mean, I don't think we're gonna get like a very hawkish Fed. I think that's at least we're not gonna get a dovish Fed by any means, right? I think that's gonna show itself, but I I mean, I don't know. Like I said, corporate earnings and all my research I've been doing doesn't suggest that like the economy's been beaten down, it's in a bad place, et cetera, et cetera. Do we still have inflation concerns? Of course we do. You know, we can clearly but hey, last CPI was you know on a you know lower than expected. So you know, then just look at it from a fundamental like levels perspective, call it right, like. I mean, I put 59.50 because if we pivot and get that back and hold above that, to me, it's like last week, right? Like you're only going to make this move back up. And so, yeah, I can't predict to you what the bottom was. Yeah, sure, 5,900. We talked that out. We got to 59.10, right? So I think we hold this. I don't see what the major news is net new besides this DeepSeek, and I just don't see DeepSeek is going to disrupt the enterprise market with AI, like potentially ChatGPT might or what Microsoft might offer. I think this whole thing is going to get reversed here pretty quickly, in my opinion. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, as long as you stay above 5,900, I think this is going to be a reversal by the dip. For FOMC, I have a feeling that I mean, if we want to say our favorite FOMC phrases that we think we'll hear. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's the one I think we're most likely to hear. Data dependent. Anybody have any others?
I actually look at his tie, what he's wearing.
Yeah.
We're going to hear data dependent several times. Need to see more data. That's another good one. That's
Well, I think the wild card with now again, you know, for those who did not trade in the Trump era the first time around, like you heard him a couple days ago when a reporter asked, like, what do you think about interest rates? And he's like, it's too high. We got to bring it down ASAP, right? So you do have this whole Trump factor as well, like how much Powell's going to, you know, fall into his demands, call it right. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's the only unknown, call it, that I can't predict for you all.
Yeah, I mean, if we are if we're looking you know, from the outside looking in, it kind of seems like Powell's a little bit defiant and he will not comment on anything like that. And even though if you read between the lines, him saying data dependent is actually saying you know, Trump, you know, I know you're doing some different things. I have to see how that pans out, right?
Yeah.
So I think that FOMC actually is probably going to be a neutral, like as far as language and stuff goes. But yeah, so which at this point in time, like if we stay above 5,900 or even if we dip below a little bit, that makes this a buy the dip opportunity. So we'll see.
I mean, another thing you can think of is that if you're very long-term bullish on AI and stuff like that, and these earnings, most of them look like buy the dip opportunity. You can also do like time spreads or stuff like that, like calendars to cheapen the long calls
That's a
over
good
a
idea.
long period too.
It's a very good idea. Yeah. All right. So let's get to some of these comments. I got to click over here.
So who do I give the sharing to?
Oh no, you don't have to. Yeah, you can just all I do is I just click on the little comment thing on the side over here. What are the implications of over vixing? So, I mean, you go on YouTube. There's a video I've done about over vixing and under vixing, but basically, VIX and SPX have a correlation, a very strong inverse correlation, where when VIX goes up, SPX goes down. Everybody kind of observes that, but you know, we've kind of quantified it on Volland. Since 2013, I believe, anytime that VIX goes up 2 points more than SPX implies it should, we return to the closing price of the day before. So the closing price of the day before right now is 61.01. If we close today 2 points over VIX, then right now I believe we are over VIXed by about 4 points. So it could definitely happen. Yeah, we're over VIX by about 4 points. Then we could expect a rebound to 61.01 within the next 3 weeks. That's the standard. We have to see how that pans out. probably see a little bit of a vol drop before the market closes. But let's when we're talking here about it, that's what we're talking about, like the over VIX signal that we all love to trade, because that signal has worked out 14 out of 15 times since 2013. So, and 3 times in the past 6 months. So that's essentially what our over VIX signal is. Watch the video on YouTube for a lot more details on why this correlation exists, stuff like that. You could also read our white paper on the subject. So, Kramer coming to us again. He doesn't trust his philanthropic fund or whatever. He has to come to us. Could anything have hinted to us on this crazy drop pre-market? I think that we saw. I mean, honestly, this is a fundamental move. I think, right? Would we agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, we saw the resistance at 6,100. I mean, markets can over leverage itself or whatever, right? Go past some key points. But I mean, Friday was, I think, the pivotal to see where we closed back at 6,100, right?
Yeah.
I think, though, I will just call it out again. This is why I like trading ES, right? Like, you can't predict what the markets are going to do. You don't know when news is going to hit, right? I mean, I wish I could have gotten in Friday on puts, right? It happened even after the ES market closed on Friday, right? So you just have to be ready for these key levels, know what the key Vanna, if volatility is going to increase, you want to know those key Vanna levels, right? So it can't be always a predictor of these big moves, but we were, we weren't longing at the highs of last week, right?
Right.
I'll leave it at that,
Yeah, definitely weren't. And in fact, actually, I mean, we identified kind of the support and resistance areas. And when I was on Schwab last week, I talked about a condor, and I was like, don't be long gamma. That's still working. Like, I mean, as a swing trade, that's working. If you're 1 DTE, then it's not working. But if you're swing trading, I mean, it's, I think I'm actually almost delta neutral on it. So yeah, let's see. Doesn't a plus 1 billion Vanna above spot and negative 1 billion negative Vanna below spot have the same hedging impact? If you mean offsetting hedging impact, technically, yes. But the thing is that when the market moves, then your aggregate Vanna will move as well. So you kind of have to, and implied volatility is going to crash after earnings. I'm pretty sure we're talking about earnings, right? Whatever he saw. Implied volatility will crash after earnings, and you'll probably get like a push fundamentally one way or the other. And if we're talking about Apple, because I think like we had no, I guess that's not Apple, 1 billion Vanna above spot, negative 1 below. I don't know which strike he's talking about, but if implied volatility or if aggregate Vanna is going up based on that underlying move, that's when you should start seeing some support and buy the dip opportunities. So the answer is yes, but so the answer is yes, but there's other ways to read it, and that's what we kind of see, right? You guys have any comments on that, or?
No, I'm well aligned with you. I think you're dead on. Like, there's with between the volatility and all of that, like that's the key thing with Vanna, right? Is about the volatility. Is so you got to kind of keep in mind how it's doing, the VIX and all this, right? So there's more if statements than just simply a simple math equation there.
Yeah. It's I mean, overall, when you're trading on Vanna, there's a lot of nuance that you kind of have to understand about it. And it takes it takes some practice too. So that's, I mean, you're not going to, right now we're just kind of expressing to you our market views so that you can be introduced to the data. That's the point of the show. But, it takes some time and some nuance in order to understand it. So, all right, let's see. Oh, Kramer coming back. With vol increasing, is the probability higher that we go up after FOMC because of vol unwind? Yes. I mean, so with vol increasing, you want to see positive aggregate Vanna. That's what you want to see as far as like a push afterward. But since we're over VIXing pretty solidly right now, my answer to that is yes, we should probably bounce and see 6,100 if we over VIX at the end of the day today. So Will says Apple may benefit from having Chinese AI available for the iPhone in China. Right. CNBC will come up with reasons all the time.
There's always a reason. I mean, again, like I said, guys, I don't see DeepSeek taking over doing all of AI for enterprise companies, especially American or European companies. So again, I'll just leave it at that. The big factor here, which is I think is fair, is does it cost all this money to build all this AI, right? So that now is what's been broken, right? And I think now the market needs to find where the truth is, and it lies somewhere in the middle there, right?
Yeah. So Julian asks Andrew, how much is the ORATS membership? But I am going to answer that one because Volland does have a there we go. Volland does have a referral code. So please log into there. I think it's about $150. They give a lot of options data. It was never really our intent to compete with ORATS. ORATS is a complement to the data that you get with Volland. So, like Andrew was sitting there using ORATS to determine what happened in earnings past, what the fundamentally how things happened. And then Volland will tell you, okay, so now I have a bullish bias or a bearish fundamental bias because earnings are a fundamental event. I kind of have a little bit of a bullish or a little bit of bearish environment. What will Volland do? Like, what will Volland say will be the final price at the end of earnings? So because of that, we have a what's not referral code? What's the word? Anyway, referral link or something like that. orats.com/Volland. Put that in, and if you subscribe. So that's what we got for that. So Kramer is asking us again, Kramer asking us. He's making a lot more money than I am doing this. Will 5,900 hold post FOMC, or would the path of least resistance upwards? 5,900, I would say if you want to be safe, 5,850 would probably hold. We could peak a little bit, PEEK a little bit below 5,900. That's possible. But that's my take. Do you guys have any take?
I do. I mean, it's just you got to take it to the levels, right? Like we almost hit 5,900 in overnight action. Just be patient this week, right? Like, once we held 5,900, it was back to 5,950, 5,975, 6,000, right? But if we go higher and you start to reject some of those key levels, like 6,000, it doesn't mean that you can't have a timber moment here again this week, right? So this is not the week to enter and wait until Friday to exit your position, right? This might be more of a scalping kind of week to be on the safer side. I'll leave it at that.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Jay. I feel like it's hard to tell what the data is because we don't even know when the market opens how the positions will change. It's probably safe to wait till after Wednesday when all the big events are going, and then you can finally see what the actual movement or levels will be. So I feel like DeepSeek I think it's overall bullish for AI because it's that means that any company can actually afford to actually have AI in their products. They don't need expensive chips. The only ones that have problems are probably companies that invest heavily on the NVIDIA chips or spend a lot of money on it. So their return on investment from their cost is too high. Now that DeepSeek shows that you can do it for cheaper. So yeah. So long-term wise, I think AI is still bullish. It's just that the certain big companies that are invested in it is probably actually losing a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
I think the next few questions you basically are very similar. Are you going to buy this dip, basically?
Yeah. You could go long at open. Let's wait and see. I mean, I think that's one thing we said. I think we are leaning bullish on a swing basis, but let's see first. Let's see how the data pops out. So
Yeah, because I think the over-VIX signal, it's like it only triggers the day after the signal happens, right?
yeah, at the end of the day, that's
Yep.
it has to be that way. So all right. Derek says, I look at skew at record highs, and that tells me everyone is buying hedges. Yet I heard you comment earlier, there's no puts in the complex. Am I misinterpreting the skew index? So the skew index is an approximation of, implied volatility changes in the low, in both in the high and the low areas in the market. There has been, and we're talking about the skew index. I that's what I'm talking about here, Derek. So I don't know if you're looking at a vol plane, you'd have to let me know. But the skew index honestly has zero correlation to anything. Skew and VIX have a little bit of a correlation, but when Vanna is high, when aggregate Vanna is high in Volland, skew index tends to be higher. So yeah, so Derek clarified. Let me hit the show button. He's talking about the skew index. Yeah, so I mean I don't use the skew index. I personally use a vol plane, like a view of the vol plane, and I use aggregate Vanna on Volland. I mean, Andrew, if you want to, I don't know, Andrew, if you have.
Oh, I thought you're sharing your screen.
You just unshared your screen.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
You can share the Vanna heat map if it's there. But what we do is we have a heat map for every stock. We have a heat map of the changes in Vanna using fixed strike vol on every single spot. Basically, it's fixed strike vol changes times right there. Fixed strike vol changes times the aggregate Vanna curve, and that will show you how aggregate Vanna is changing on all these using kind of a vol plane. So this is basically what I look at when I'm determining how Vanna is moving the markets. Now, of course, this isn't updated yet. The market hasn't opened yet. I expect this to look more like a Christmas tree today. But with that red and green and stuff, but all right. Let's see. One last question. Norman is asking for NQ levels. So right now in Volland, we have the QQQ. We are coming with futures very soon. Very soon. So I would, I reserve the right to change this answer, but right now QQQ is down in the 511 region. We saw 515 kind of as a big node, and now if 515 drops, then it can drop pretty hard. That's like the support area. So that's kind of what we see right now. But again, we have to see the market open before we do anything crazy. So I guess Jay needed to go close a position or something, huh? But yeah, so I mean it's now kind of late. We have 5 minutes before market open, and we got a lot of things. We got a lot of things going. There's 2 little options bought on both NDX and futures for NASDAQ for it to be of any use, right? On NDX, yes, and the reason why is because the Philadelphia PHLX, that exchange holds a monopoly on NDX options, and Susquehanna holds a monopoly on market making them. So that's a bad combination. And so spreads are wide. Nobody likes to trade them. But NQ has some traffic. So NQ and QQQ will give you some good traffic. So, all right. I think we are good to go, Andrew. We got to start measuring out how the market is going to flesh out here in 5 minutes. So everybody, good luck trading. This is going to be a crazy week. It's crazy already. But to sum up, since, I'm sure a bunch of you haven't been watching since then, to sum up, I think we are, right now it's a buy the dip opportunity. But we'll see how things flesh out over the day. So, all right. So for Andrew, thank you, Andrew, for coming on and giving us your earnings insight. And may Volland help you in your future trading ventures.